you going, guys? So, tomorrow, I'm just starting to cook tea. Tomorrow I'm going to hook back into this again. Done a very small test with the DA sander, and it lasts heaps longer. But what I'll do tomorrow is I'll set a camera up on the tripod watching the gauge, see what it drops down to, and see what it holds at. Because when it was on that, like, it would almost get to the point where you couldn't sand with it, would actually get to the point where it'd stop. But it'll keep going on that, but I just want to see what the pressure is. So I'll set a phone up down there, and I'll borrow my partner's phone or whatever, and I'll video me working over there at the same time, and then we'll do a comparison shot and see what it drops down to running. But it seems to hold okay. It gets down, it's going slowish, but it's holding and it's still running, and you can still sand with it okay, like for a reasonable amount of time before it gets to the point where you sort of think, oh, I might stop for a minute or half a minute. So I'm quite impressed so far. It probably does really need that extra bit of capacity, but we'll see how we go, and I'll do a decent test tomorrow. But yeah, I'll get back to cooking some tea, or some meat anyway for tea. So yeah, alrighty, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Cheers. Right, how you going, guys? So, got the compressor sorted out. I'm going to do some, going to run the DA sander on here. So, on the Jag. So what I'm going to do, to test this compressor, I'm going to set this camera I'm holding in my hand that I'm walking around with now, up here on the compressor. I'm going to let it build up to full pressure, and then I'll crank up the DA sander. And I just want to see how far it drops back when I'm using it, and just test it and all that sort of stuff. So this video here will be sort of a quick review for a start off on the on this compressor, and just test it, see how it handles running the DA, because that's the hardest thing for us to run. Spray gun, should be no problems at all, but this compressor is just will probably hopefully handle the DA. So I'll try and get the setup nice and close to these gauges. Righty. So sorry about the noise for a minute, but should be right. So I'll crank this up and we'll get up to full pressure. Turn it on. Right, so while that's charging up, I'm getting some air in it. I'll put some earplugs in. I'm not going to worry about the mask, because I'm just going to be basically doing a test here. I'm not going to be stressing too much, so I'm just going to try and get a good scratch in this panel with the DA with 80 grit on it, so I can get this prepped for etch. So we're up to pressure now. So let's see what this thing's capable of, I guess. Better turn the airline on, eh? Right. Better turn the air on. Ready to go. Alright, test 1. Alrighty, so that'll do. It didn't really get any lower there, I'm guessing. So basically I DA'd the majority of that guard. So it'd be just interesting to see what the pressure drop was when I go back through the video. I won't sit here and make you watch it there at normal speed. I'll speed it up from when I'm actually DA sanding, but and slow it down again when I get to this point. But yeah, so hopefully, like that's coping. Like it's not going really fast, but it's still enough to definitely get a good scratch in there and cover ground reasonably well. A little bit more air capacity would probably be help, make it last a bit longer at high speed for a start. But that's coping right. And if you had the two going into a T-line, like they'd have no problems at all. If we could get that one going again, that's probably what we'll end up doing. We'll make a little T-line that comes off and just about hook it in. So if we do have to run something like that, that's what we can do. So, but anyway, that'll do for now. I'll carry on stripping paint off and everything on here, and I can do that on one camera. Righty, cheers. Righty. So I've done my compressor. Righty. So I've done the compressor test before. So I'm happy with how that works. It works pretty well. The DA on that. It's probably a little bit small still, but it copes. Like it doesn't get to the point where you actually have to physically stop. But if you probably run it for probably 3 or 4 minutes, let it catch up, and then like to just stop and do something else, even half a minute or whatever, and then carry on again if you're really like actually sanding. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in there with a wire wheel, get the rest of the shit off this front. I might mark the hinges on the bonnet and get that out of the road, or the hood out of the road. I'm not sure where I'm going to put that, but I'll get it completely out of the road here somewhere. Might even figure out somewhere. I might stick it way over there on top of one of those other cars or something like that, or on top of something, and some sheets or whatever, carpet or something. Get it completely out of the road, make sure it's not going to fall off and get damaged until such time as ready. But I'll mark the hinges where the bolts are with the marker, and then I can get all this paint cleaned up. And as we said, we're not painting in the engine bay, so I won't go over into here anywhere. Yeah, we'll get the rest of the paint up here. We're not going to pull paint off up in here. We'll just scuff this up and sand it, and just by hand or whatever, until we get all, because we don't want to take the glass out, because just by the time you start doing that, you got to water and new rubber and all that sort of stuff, because it's not soft enough, but it's it's like any old windscreen rubber. If it's been there for 30, 40 years, and it's still okay, it doesn't leak and all those sorts of things, well, we just prefer to try and leave it alone. In the meantime, we don't have to have it out to get the hood lining in and out, so that's a bonus. But anyway, I'll find a marker. I'll mark the insides of these bolts and get this bonnet off, and we'll see in a few. Oh, I hate that wire wheel. It vibrates way more than that. That first one I changed over in that earlier video. It was just, it got a vibration in it. It's just not as nice to work with. Anyway, I'll stop the camera here and I'll carry on and do some more. When my fingers stop tingling, then I might go maybe mow the lawns or something like that. Gonna do that as well. So yeah, but we'll come back and do some more. Right guys, how you going? So finally getting back out of here. Hectic couple of days. Chasing stuff around, but I'm not going to talk too much. I'm just going to get into this and get on with it. Now, just before I do get started, hopefully my new phone and gimbal will be here next week, so whether I get this video up before that turns up or not, I'm not sure. Probably will, but probably by the time I finish today and clean this up and scuff it back with the DA, I'll probably make that the end of this video, and then we'll start fresh when I put etch and all that sort of stuff on it, because depending on the weather I'll try and get this as mobile as possible and push it outside. I might have to put the boards outside that we use to run the tractors out on, just to make it a bit easier for me to push them out, because this thing's quite heavy and I don't want to have to try and get it to start it, so I'd rather just push it in and out if I can, and I'll just mask everything up, blow the front round with some etch, and then we'll move into the next stage. To be honest, like, it's not really going to need a lot of body filler. But around the front here we've done that, repair, possibly in around here a little bit, and just where the, hopefully enough high build, maybe just a skim of body filler over areas where it's been leaded originally. Same in here, but really there hasn't been a lot of body filler on it. It's only going to be where we've done the repairs. So yeah, anyway, I'll stop crapping on, we'll get this paint off this thing, and then I can get it cleaned up, and then hopefully, won't be today, but I don't know, maybe tomorrow or Monday or something like that, I might be able to get some etch on it. Anyway. found some treasures in this corner. I don't know if you call them treasures, but I'll bring the camera down here and try and show you if I can. Gloves and shit off. Righty. I'll stop this now and I'll bring the camera down. So what we got going on here, this is all filled with full of body fill. It's been crunched in at some point. So when I get this out, I'm going to finish getting all this out. Try and get a bit of, it's been punched in there at some point. So when I get this all cleaned out, in here, I'll have a better look and might jack that this side, get this wheel off, and see if I can beat some of that out instead of filling it full of body filler again. Look, I've got no problem with body filler whatsoever if it's used right, and like, to be honest, you know, like, it probably's not a lot, like, but it was quite sort of thick just in there. But there's quite a lot that could be done with that, because that's just single skin. Like, there's no extra in it. Easy to get to. They could have quite easily spent 5 or 10 minutes and beaten that out and just got a bit better shape in it. But we'll get the rest of this off. Like, I haven't really struck a lot of body filler in the front of this thing at all. Especially in this front area. There's been the odd little slightly thicker spot, like there's a little bit in here. There may be some extra damage in here, I don't know. But it's not bad at all. Like, there was never really any bad body filler at all. See that? The other piece should look more like this. Yeah. I've still got to clean all the paint off in here and stuff like that, but like that's what it should look like on the other side. So I've got a good reference there. It's nice and clean. Let's see if I can get in here. Try and show you. So yeah, like, that's all beaten back just in that piece, which is silly. Like, they, for a little bit of extra time, you know, they could have saved a bit of extra work with body filler. Just that nicer job. That little bit nicer, less likely to get a piece of body filler fall out, something like that, you know, if they didn't quite happen to get a perfect prep. But you know, if you don't get a perfect prep, it's going to fall out anyway. But you know, it just saves that extra opportunity of something like that happening. But anyway, I'll get back to cleaning this bit up. Righty, back to it. Get the rest of this crap off. Bring out the hammer and dolly. Is that? Maybe. New gloves. No idea what brand they were. I like these little gloves. They're quite good for welding too, because they're not too thick. When you're trying to do a bit of extra precision work, or just a little bit of light welding, especially like on blade panels, so you're all over the place. These are way better than the thick heavy ones. Just give you a bit more control. again. A quick tip for you guys, obviously a lot of these grinders will tell you which way the brush is rotating. So if you're going over edges like this where it's, we're going over an edge of this panel steel, try and run the brush so it's working off, not working on, because that's when you're likely to catch it and bang and bend something or hurt yourself. I won't demonstrate it, but believe me, a few times where you haven't been able to get in somewhere, and try and run it back the other way, or it's been really awkward. And a couple of times I've caught the other edge and like bent an edge up, or it's pulled out and run up my arm or something stupid like that. I've been pretty lucky. I've had these wound up in the tops quite a few times. They're pretty nasty things. I've been pretty lucky over the years. I've never really done myself any major injuries. Like I've taken the skin off my edges of my fingers or my knuckles quite a few times with grinders and cutting discs and whatever, but I've never done myself a major, so I've been pretty lucky. But I've always tried to be as careful as I can. Yes, I do run most of my grinders without a guard on it, mainly because a lot of times they get in the road. You'll be trying to cut something and all of a sudden your thing's in the road, and if you try and turn it around, well, you still can't get into places, but with it off, you can get in. So that's why a lot of the time I take them off. I do always have them around, for the reason where I might want to put it back on, and there's been the odd time I put them back on, but a lot of the time I just leave them off. But that's my personal preference. It all depends on what you're doing. When you're doing a lot of crazy shapes and like this and around cars and stuff, they get in the road. If you're just grinding flat steel a lot of the time and things like that, you can leave them on. But yeah, when you're trying to use a wire wheel especially, or even a sanding, like some of the sanding discs and stuff like that, if you go over the edge where the wheel's coming back onto the edge, it'll just tear shit to pieces, or you end up hurting yourself. So try and run so the wheel is running like that off, even if you've got to keep going around like that. Now that's where glasses or eye protection and stuff comes in handy, because when it's flicking around like that, it's likely to spit you in the face. But if you can try and get out of the road or the path, do that. Sometimes you might be better off to stand up and try and get around there with it running the right direction. But yes, it's not always easy, but you try and do your best. And I find sometimes the wheels with the shorter, coarser bristles are less likely to fire stuff at you. If you get them with a really long, I find they fly to pieces pretty quick, unless you've got a grinder that you can. Some of these you can get variable speed grinders, unless you've got the big long bristles, and you get a variable speed grinder, they just fly to pieces, and they just, especially if you can't afford to buy some of the wheels that are a bit more expensive. But yeah, I try to go for the shorter bristles. Like that would be as long as I would go, unless I particularly needed a long bristle to get in somewhere, depending on the vehicle or what you're working on. Like sometimes you might want an extra big long bristle so you can get into a position, but then sometimes you're better off just to go to a different tool. I do have a little wire wheel for one of my die grinders, but it's pretty much worn out. But you can get them with like little fine bristles, which are quite handy. At least then you can control the speed of them a bit better. But yeah, be careful with these bloody things, because I have had them bite me a few times and I've been lucky. But I always try to be careful and just think about how you're approaching. Like big open panels like this are easy, but it's when you're getting even onto this sort of stuff, you can quite easily catch an edge and flick it out of your hand and hurt yourself, or damage something that you don't want damaged. That's not easily repaired.
Yeah, but like a lot of these sort of areas are like really awkward to grind in. So you got to try and be as careful as you can, especially like stuff like this. You know, try and run it so your wheel's coming off all the time. Don't try and have it the other way where it's going to bite in and fire it to the ground and then bounce up and hit you in the face or anything silly. Anyway, I'll try and get the rest of this cleaned up because I'm about to have lunch, I think, and the partner's made pizzas, homemade pizzas. We just buy bases and we just put all our own stuff on. Tastes better, probably better for you, all those sorts of things. But anyway, I'll get back to it.
Pizza's ready.
Okay, buddy. Thank you. I'll be back later then.
Jake just told us we had to pull all the pieces.
Oh, really?
With the little zombie guy.
Alright, buddy. Got the autofocus locked this time. God, that's a pain in the butt. I don't know, some of these cameras, they just in and out all the time. But yeah, I find, just a little tip, on my phone anyway, I can hold my finger on the screen after I've hit record, and then you can set it to so it locks the focus. Sometimes I forget to do it and then it starts freaking going all over the place, but it probably just depends on your phone too and what update it's on, because I've noticed some updates on my phone for different apps and stuff, sometimes it doesn't do it and then the next time it will. But anyway, get the lasters paid off and then I'll DA this and I'll make that the end of the video. And then hopefully the next couple of days. In the next photo I might, video I might do some of this hammer and dolly work because there's a bit of body damage there. But I'll get this cleaned up, DA it, and we'll make that the end of this video. Anyway. Otherwise it'll be too bloody long. Hope you can hear me. If you wonder what the sanding disc is I'm using on those, these, and to be honest, I wouldn't go out of way to buy them again. I've used other brands and they've been better for less. Dad bought these, but yeah, just we haven't found them particularly. They're okay, but I know I've had other brands that aren't 3M and they've lasted better and they've been cheaper. But yeah, I because I haven't been here for about 4 years, I don't know what the price of these other brands are now. But yeah, these aren't the best. They're okay, but they're not the best. that's all, majority of that stripped back. If you can see over in that corner, so sorry about that. But yeah, so that's the majority of that all done. I'm just giving it a scuff round by hand with one of the old pads, just to try and clean up all those little edges and bits and pieces that you not so easy to get in with the DA. And probably what I'll do also is with the little die grinder with the roll lock on it, I might just try and go in and around some of these other little tighter spots, just clean up a few other little extra bits. Probably have another go around, just a light go around with the wire wheel again, just touch up. But what I'll do just to finish this off, I'll go around with you and I'll just point out a few bits and pieces that need a little bit of work. It's like most things, you could probably leave most of it, but you know, and smear a little bit of body fill over it. But I'll try and do my best to get the worst of whatever's there out. Anyway, I'll stop it here and I'll make another new wee bit, and I'll just, some of the videos aren't too long when I'm editing. Righty, so I'm just trying to get in a position of my tripod there so I can hold it, uphold it. So there's a few little marks and bits and pieces. So here's one that I should be able to get up into and just knock the worst of it out. Come along here, hopefully you can see a little bit of damage in here. I'll rework this corner. It's quite it's got quite a ridge in it. Down here, everything else looks pretty reasonable. So this area just needs a final clean up. We've got a crack in here, so I'll probably have to drill the end of the split out and weld that up. I'll probably go back over that piece where I did the repairs earlier on, give that another clean up, because I noticed when I was wire wheeling it the other day, there was pulled a bit of weld out that obviously didn't weld in there very well, so I'll weld that back up. And here there's a few little stone dents and bits and pieces. This has had a little bit of work at some other point, so I might just have a good feel over it and just double check it, but it should be reasonable. But the rest of it should be okay. It's just the body work down here. We'll put those new panels in. I might just re-go over them once more and just double check everything before I go into etch. I might just have another little go at this and see if I can get this transition better. It's not looking 100%. But so yeah. So there's a few little marks and bits and pieces. It's like this has had a new, I reckon this has had a new half on it or something like that, because you can see where it's been re-welded. And I reckon it's been gas welded, but with a proper welding rod, not bronze. That's what it looks like to me, because if we go to this side, oh no, that might be factory. It might be factory, unless it's had a whole front put on it, because it's sort of the same. I thought it looked like it had been put on, but maybe that might be just factory. So yeah, like there's a few little marks. So what I'll do is I'll go around with either a marker, or I might even use a bit of tape and just mark all those spots that I find. Then I can come along and dolly them up and make them look better. But anyway, I think I've got plenty of footage now for the end of this video. So we'll call it quits here for this one. And I'll carry on and I'll start making some more videos, and I'll mark these off and bits and pieces, but I'll leave that to the next video. Alrighty guys, thanks guys, and like and subscribe and all those things. Hit the bell, all those things. Yeah, I'm creeping up to that 400 mark now quite nicely. I think I'm 379 or 380 or somewhere around about there. So if you can, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe please. Anyway, we'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys. Thanks.